So Rudik's World asks, what was your favorite database before Hasura? Um, so before Postgres, let's talk about that for a minute. So Hasura is the GraphQL API service on top of the database, right? So it connects to SQL Server and it connects to Postgres. Now, if we get into the grander scheme of things, there's a lot of other databases, ever since the NoSQL world really added to it. And before even NoSQL, there were a number of other databases. I don't know if I would say a lot, but there were a number of other databases besides relational databases. However, relational databases are pretty much like we're 95, 98% of the market. And in all seriousness, even today, they're still 90% of the market because they solve 90+% of all problems that are needed around data storage, querying the data, data access, correlation of the data between things, and stuff like that. Now, when you get into larger realm issues in some situations, it behooves one to step away from a relational database into the thing that would do whatever it is that you want to do with your data in a better, more robust way or a scalable way or something like that. So you might go into Mongo or Cassandra, which are distributed databases for large, like maybe petabyte size volumes. They both have their pluses and minuses. They're slightly different, but they're both distributed databases. So the size of it can scale up per the nodes that you just add to the database. Then there are other things that take like a Postgres database and actually shard it on the back end, but maintain all the integrity of the database, like I believe it's Citus, which Microsoft owns now. So you can go out and check that out. And that does some pretty amazing things to push the relational database diagram scaling past the normal constraints of that. Then there are other things like graph databases, where if you have things that are graphed in many different ways, they give you very specific query techniques, like Gremlin is a query language that you can write against the graph itself, and it gives you an extremely fast ability to query against data that's stored in a way that can be graphed against, which is not to be confused with GraphQL. Yes, CouchDB is another one of those NoSQL databases, which was it originally written in Erlang, I think, and then they switched. Then it became Couchbase or something like that. The history's a little fuzzy, but each of the databases, just like if you shift to a time series to do time-based querying against the data that you're storing, all those databases provide significant benefits for that particular data in that particular way that it's stored. But usually you lose significant parts of the advantage of the relational database model, which is the entity relationships, the specific column types, all those types of things, the ability to add functions, and just the robustness of the relational database management systems. They're very, very robust. They've been around almost 60 years at this point in some cases. So they're old, but they're tried and true. They work. Most of the SQL database engines themselves haven't been really tweaked or messed with in any way for probably 20 or 30 years. So that's as far as like what is my favorite database, it all goes back to the wonderful, famous contractor answer, which is it depends. What are we trying to do? So if I'm trying to do 95% of the work out there and provide a good solution for what's on hand, I'm probably going to use a relational database because it's going to be the most robust, capable system for most enterprise problems, probably most startup problems, honestly, and things like that. So out of all of the databases, I'd say my two favorites are Postgres and SQL Server. SQL Server because of the ecosystem around it. There's a lot of pieces besides just the database itself that make it really nice to use and easily integrate with all the pieces that it has. And then with Postgres, I love it because it's open source, crazy fast, And the scalability and other ecosystem around it are also extremely powerful, and the community around that database is very supportive. So I'd say those two are my favorite relational databases. As far as the other things go, I'd say as far as distributed databases go, Cassandra. It's one of the only ones that's still mostly based off the DynamoDB. It follows the true masterless node type paradigm. And then, let's see, what other ones? I don't know, that's about it. Those are kind of like my three go-to databases: Cassandra, Microsoft SQL Server, and Postgres. If I can't do it with one of those databases, then there's going to be some serious questions that need answered. So that's my answer for what is my favorite database. It starts with it depends, and then it resolves to generally those three databases.